Okay, perfect. Welcome and thank you for joining our 2023 MLK event, Together We Can Be the Dream, a focus on voters' rights. Please ensure your phones are muted. I am Nickie Lane. I am the CPO on the national board of the network. I want to welcome and thank our guest speakers today, Omani Gilliam, the CFO of the network national board, and Kimberly Holiday, newly elected city official for Pflugerville, Texas. Thank you for taking time to discuss such an important topic with us today.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Our first speaker today is Omani. He is a devoted father and husband of one son and three daughters. He is a recipient of the AT&T Dream and Black Future Maker Award 2022. In addition, as a service executive leading AT&T's most complex and strategic clients by creating a broader and deeper relationship owning the service experience. Omani is an innovative, performance-focused, and success-driven professional with extensive experience in nurturing good ideas and dispute resolution. He is a cross-functional guru and favored by the toughest clients due to his ability to balance having a strong backbone and earning trust. Omani is a graduate from the University of Notre Dame Executive Negotiation Program, active member of Harvard's program on negotiation, along with 22 years experience with AT&T, and leads with a warm blend of charismatic competence and humble leadership. He is a high-stakes team builder who loves building in the community, passion for people and political action. With a strong foundation in his faith, passionate about advancing DE&I, and enjoys reading leadership books to turn challenges into purposes. Omani, thank you again for joining us today. Can you please give us highlights on voting rights?
Sure. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to preface by saying thank you and welcome everyone for attending today. Can you hear me okay? My volume's okay? Excellent. Yes. All right. Excellent. I appreciate you, Nickie. Thank you, Madam CEO, Gina McGray on the line. And thank you for our wonderful guest today. But let's talk a little bit about the Voting Rights Act, and let's kind of break this down in a simplified fashion and not in any soliloquy, and just kind of touch on the complex differences of the Electoral College and the popular vote, which can be somewhat confusing. At the time, President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act into law on August 6, 1965. And Martin Luther King, the icon, the legend, Martin Luther King, and other civil rights leaders were present at the ceremony. The act banned the use of literacy tests, provided our federal oversight of voter registration in areas where less than 50% of non-white population have registered to vote, and authorized U.S. Attorney to investigate the use of poll tax and other local elections. Okay, so now the Electoral College was created by delegates in 1787 as compromise between electing the president by voting in Congress or electing through a popular vote by qualified citizens. Now, the four founding founders set up the Electoral College for a few reasons. They wanted to balance the interests of the southern and the northern states, and they also wanted to put a buffer between the people of the electing president and a chosen group of people that will be able to object to other people's vote. And in research, they believe that not all voters were potentially informed enough to choose a leader. So the Electoral College is a system where the citizens can elect the president and vice president through a body of 538 electors, 538. So that's 435 House of Representatives, 100 of the Senate, and 3 of Washington, D.C. Okay, 538. So in summation, what are the electors, right? That's the confusing part and kind of a little bewildering. Electors are people chosen by their state parties prior to the general election who cast their vote for the president, okay? And on the other hand, you have the popular vote, right? The popular vote, when we receive the results from the presidential election, we are given those two results, right? And the Electoral College and the popular vote. And the popular vote is simply the candidate that has received the most votes, okay? So I hope that kind of breaks it down a little bit in layman's terms. And, let's move forward. And I have a great, wonderful guest of the hour. And I would like to take a moment to introduce Kimberly Holiday, known to most as Lady Joy. Serves as a global advocate for mental wellness, personal empowerment. Kimberly is a social psychologist by trade who shows up in the world as a radio personality, motivational speaker, published book author, restorative justice practitioner. Restorative justice practitioner. Her superpower is development of genuine networks through authentic collaboration. Kimberly's joy you will find instantly contagious and a reflection for others to know that they too can live with potential for more joy, regardless of the life circumstances they may have. Kimberly's life is of transparency, using only her smile as her logo and marketing hashtag got joy as her brand. Kimberly is a Texas native and serving and proudly claims Pflugerville, Texas as a home where she serves on the city council place number 3. In addition to serving as counsel, Kimberly advocates for unhoused youth and as a peer support specialist with Caritas of Austin. Okay, so without any further ado, family, I love to introduce a phenomenal, gentle lady, trusted ally, Madam Counsel, Kimberly Holiday.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm like, wow, that's me. Woohoo. So yeah, thank you for the privilege to simply show up as my real and authentic self. I am just getting off of duty for Pflugerville Police Department Victim Services, running from there to here, and I'm just excited to be here. I was listening to how you started out the meeting. I was like, wow, I must not have done my research enough. But what I want to say is I'm here to simply share my experience in the arena on the platform that I've been placed. On all platforms, I show up sharing my lived experience of homelessness and trauma myself. And I just want to always be an advocate for how important it is that you vote and that you use the power of your voice to make changes. Thank you again for the ability to be here. And I am currently serving as the program manager with the Austin Area Urban League, where I continue to serve the unhoused. But on this level now, I help those go before the Austin City Council to advocate for themselves from a lived experience perspective so that we can create changes and get budgeting changes directly from those who benefit and are affected by these laws and policies. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And before we get into any questions, Kimberly, I would like to congratulate you on your recent win. And please take a moment just to share your experience on your road to winning this position.
Hopefully I can use my time for that instead of these questions or all of these questions. But I just want to remind people that um, if you have a desire to be an advocate, it looks different for everyone. And I encourage you to follow that passion. Now, as far as my story specifically, it's a little bit non-traditional. I never planned to be a politician, not my thing, not my desire. However, I received a phone call and was said, Kim, it's time for you to run. I'm like, I've never been to city council. I don't even know what the city council does. Guys, I'm just being real and honest about it. However, I knew that wherever I went and wherever I go, I always advocate for others and for myself. And even though I consider myself to be an introvert, I've learned how to operate in public spaces. And so I did my research. I got together with my friends. I figured out in the area who was voting, who wasn't voting, why they weren't voting. I used that opportunity to educate myself and to block walk and go strategically knock on doors to educate others. And so we were able to bring people who typically didn't vote in local elections out to the polls. and to begin to have a conversation, a dialogue about what was actually important for them. Because while I was discovering what does the city council do, local government is so important. And so I am enjoying everything about it. I am in my first year of my very first term. I've decided I want to run again. 3 years is simply not enough time. And I am also serving as the first Black woman to ever serve in the office. Let me catch my breath on that. So again, something I had not planned to do. However, I am following my higher power and what I've been called to do. And I want people to know that it doesn't look a certain way. You don't have to have a certain degree. You don't have to have a certain come from a certain background. Your voice is important. And every single one of your experiences, like, y'all, I came to the table thinking, oh, I wasn't good enough for this particular group, but I want you to know that we all come with experiences and all of them are equally important. And so your experience is very important at the table. Yeah. Did I go off too far on that? Okay, perfect. And so, yeah, get on commissions, serve on boards. I can tell you like how it kind of started for me, which was first someone begging me to be on a board. I'm like, I don't want to sit on a board. Okay, I don't know what y'all do. So anyway, the Pflugerville Education Foundation was my first board, and I realized that diversity mattered on that board and that my voice mattered. And then from there, I found mentors. I found people who believed in me, who believed that I could go further. And so, yeah, that's really how it all started. So follow your path. It doesn't have to be the traditional path of what other people think it's supposed to be.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today, Kimberly. And right now, what we're going to do is we're definitely going to go right into the questions. So the first question that I have will be for Omani. Omani, we know that racial discrimination in we know there is racial discrimination in voting. What does the Voting Rights Act do to assist with addressing this issue?
Yes, it's a great question. It's a great question, and I appreciate that one. Um, the Voting Rights Act, it prohibits voting practices or procedures that discriminate on the basis of race, color, or membership, And one of the language minority groups identified in Section 4F2, Congress later amended the act 5 times to expand its protections. And this was designed to enforce the voting rights to guarantee by the 14th and 15th Amendment of the Constitution. And the act sought to secure the right to vote for racial minorities throughout the country, especially in the South. So according to the U.S. Department of Justice, according to this act, the Voting Rights Act, is considered to this day be the most effective pieces of federal civil rights legislation ever enacted in our country. So think about that for a second. It's there to protect us.
Thank you so much for the answer. And Kimberly, feel free if you want to jump in and add anything, you can as well.
I just feel like I'm here to be a super supporter and to learn here as well. I should have paid more attention in history class and government class.
No,
because I'm telling you, I'm still trying to figure out how I got here myself. So I'm just gonna sit here and listen and enjoy.
Okay,
I'll jump in.
Problem. No problem. I think it's all a learned experience for us all.
I love it though. It's you know what though? It's very necessary.
Yeah.
And I'm about to turn 50 years old, and so I keep thinking now that I'm in office that there are things that I should have paid more attention to. It so it makes me more aware to have these conversations with my children, because we used to just kind of hear the television on, our parents were watching it, but now we're listening in a different way. And we do realize, even our children realize, that our vote actually makes a difference and it will affect things that happen to us locally, within our counties, within the states, and even on a national and global and international level. So yeah,
Yeah.
we need to be paying attention. We need to be learning this history. So thank you, Omani.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I think that, once we reach a certain age, we definitely start paying attention to different things, right? Things that we may not have paid attention to when we were younger. And I agree to your sentiment that we definitely need to be teaching our children these type of things. Start them early.
And even for our spouses as well. I'm just, I'm always real and authentic. My husband and I enjoy watching the news together. And so it opens a dialogue to have some conversations. And we've been, I was like, if you call me one more time in the middle of the day to tell me something that you saw on CNN, and then we're honest, we go back and forth so we can listen to all sides. It's very important that you hear all sides of the news.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. And in that, Kimberly, I would like to ask, in your experience, how has the Justice Department assisted in enforcing the Voters' Rights Act?
So I thought about that question and I was thinking, well, how have I actually seen this played out? And so at the election sites, they have people coming out to make sure and to monitor that we are actually being treated fairly at the polls, that the rules and regulations, the lines are not being crossed. And so I think they've been great advocates for that. Yes. And so again, they are making sure that our voter rights are protected. And one of the questions I'll just draw right in, like if you see someone is being discriminated when they are voting. I've also worked the polls as well. I enjoy doing that. There is a judge on both sides for both parties, and I would instruct them to have a conversation with one of them to let them know what they've seen, and then yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. There's like when I go to the polls, I definitely don't know how to differentiate the poll. I guess is it monitor the person who monitors the votes. So I don't
Yes.
tell the difference. I just think that everyone there is working with the community because they're also welcoming and encouraging to vote.
Absolutely. But each side is watching each side to make sure things are done fair and in order. So yes, please know that there is always a Democrat and Republican voting judge in the House at every polling site available to you to have a conversation. There are many working parts to make sure that our voter rights are actually exercised, so you can get there with no problems.
Thank you so much for that information. Now, I just want to know, like, from the both of you, how does voting improve our quality of life?
Mm.
Obani, you want to take that
Yeah,
first?
yeah. I gotta get that mute together. Can you hear me? There we
Yeah.
go. This is powerful. It's powerful, family. Improving our quality of life. I think about that. We all want an improved quality of life, right? And so every day, our tax dollars go into the government's pot, right? It goes in the government's pot. Kimberly knows that. And then we rely on elected officials to determine where that money is spent, right? So wouldn't it be wonderful to have influence where your tax dollars were spent by voting for those who care about changing laws for you and me, care about issues you care about, right? So think about it in that perspective. Think about it in this way. If we don't vote for individuals in office who have our best interests and advocate for initiatives that support our daily livelihoods, then we can't expect our tax dollars to be spent in our best interests. We can't expect it to be spent in our best interests, right? So, in my view, not voting is not an option, ladies and gentlemen. It's not an option.
Right.
Hold elected officials accountable, right? Unless you simply desire to concede, giving your hard-earned money,
Right.
which I don't want to do, right? No one wants to do, to people, programs, ideals that you don't support in your everyday life, right? Or in turn, which can affect your priorities of interest, right? So I believe in diversity. Many believe in diversity in this call and equity, and that can affect even changing racial inequalities by voting, putting places and people in office that you support, communities, homelessness, equitable housing, uplifting impoverished families, or even improving the health disparities that plague our country every day. Countless health disparities, right? So in essence, when we don't vote, um, it's we can inadvertently support those whom have contrary views, and they can misuse our tax dollars and my tax dollars, your tax dollars in the wrong direction. So think about it in that perspective. To improve your life, there's a power in voting. There's a power. Nickie?
That's
Perfect.
beautiful.
I'm just going to follow up and ask Omani just a quick question. So I know that you do a lot of work in the community and you are a part of a lot of these initiatives. What are some resources, or where should a person go if they want to become a part of that in their respective cities, of course?
First and foremost, and Kimberly she can go after, no problem. First and foremost, I highly recommend attend one city hall meeting just to understand the process. See who your mayor is.
Mm.
See how they communicate. See where the mentality is. It's not about the red, the blue, the Republican, the Democrat. See who the council members are. For example, first Black of Travis County near Austin, Texas, 71,000 residents on our call today, Kimberly Holiday, 71,000 citizens. And she got that support by galvanizing the community from those individuals that maybe attended a city hall meeting, and then that one person told 20 people. And those that didn't know about Kimberly pursued to thousands of votes in a matter of weeks. See how I can just spur. So I would say first step, if you can, it's free. Once a year, attend a city council meeting and see the dots, to see, connect the forest from the trees. So I would say that, Nickie.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you
course, I'm
for
going
that.
to echo that. A city council meeting is so important. If we were sitting in a room, I would literally just ask the question, like, how many of you have really attended a city council meeting in the city where you serve, so you can see how it all works and how important it is? Do you even know if your city council serves at large, meaning there isn't districts, or is there a specific person that takes care of your district? So it's very important to know who your mayor is, know who your city elected officials are, and build relationships with them, right? That is what has happened with me and Omani. We have established a relationship. So therefore, should he have a concern about something that is going on in his city where he lives that directly affects his family, we can have a conversation about that. And I'm not completely thrown off about that. Why? Because we already have a relationship, because that's what this is about. And not a city official is not out of reach, and they shouldn't be, which is why voting is so important, because you get to choose who sits in those seats. And are they reachable? They may not agree with everything you agree with, but are they at least open to hear your ideas and what you have to say? And then if they don't know everything, because I admit I don't know everything, do I have connections? Yes, I do, to go find out who has the answer to that. That's really important. That's why voting is important.
Most definitely. And I will be the first to say that I have never visited a city council meeting, but I am definitely, after this conversation, going to put that on my to-do list this year, because it is important, especially because our tax dollars are being used for things that we may not see direct benefit from, right? But we definitely want to see benefit
That's right.
from our tax dollars at work. And then this is kind of a spinoff to maybe the question that I just asked, but what can we do as citizens to change some of the laws in our communities after the voting term is complete?
If I could start there, since I just want to piggyback again off the city council meeting and how important that is. At those meetings, we have a period where it is public comment. And this allows those in our communities to have 3 minutes uninterrupted for the elected officials and people may not know, but usually all of the city employees that can make those changes too are also in the room. And we're listening, and that is your time to allow your voice and your concerns to be heard. Of course, we're not making laws in the city. We're creating policies and ordinances and trying to create best practices, but it is the best way to have your voice to be heard if you want some changes to be made after you've elected someone into office, whether that be local or at the state level or above. Continue to use those platforms that have been created. This is why we need to know what those platforms are and use those for your voice to be heard.
Thank you so much for that. And my last question before we open it up to the audience to maybe share their experience and or have questions. My last question is, sometimes we often hear others say, why vote, right? And I know we talked about this a little bit, but what would be your responses to someone who would say, why should we vote? And the both of you can elaborate.
You want to go first, Kimberly? I can go, no problem. It's up to you. I'll just say this, family. I think about it on a historical stance and a historical frame of mind. Besides all the great civil rights activists and leaders that paved the way for you and me to vote, think about it this way. Thomas Mundy Peterson, he was the first African American voter after the passage of the 15th Amendment. Thomas Mundy Peterson in 1870. Think about that for a second. He was the first. And he was the first male in that amendment that was allowed, not women, but 1870, the first man African American to vote. Was in the times of arduous oppression, and please mute your phone, please, and Jim Crow laws. Think about that. Yet Thomas still found a way to vote, being tormented beyond measures. So that's what inspires me, along with many other great leaders of our times. If Thomas can transcend being the first African American to vote in 1870 and put his life on the line, I can make a difference. Kimberly can make a difference. You can make a difference by at least voting for causes that you care about and I care about, right? So, remember, please don't confuse movement with progress, because you can run in place and not get anything done. So when you're moving forward, are you moving forward, and who are you taking with you, and how can you make things better? Right? So vote and vote again. And you may realize voting is a gift. It's a gift, it truly is.
Y'all saw me over here clapping and stuff. I'm trying to keep it all together because I don't really know who's all on the call, but I get excited. Please exercise your right to vote, and it is a gift. Use it.
You're on mute, Nickie. You're on mute.
So sorry about that. I see a lot of responses in the chat to this question. So if you want to jump off mute and share what your answer would be, let's go ahead and take that question as well. And I'll read some of the ones until we have someone come off. So Pamela said, when someone asks me, I have to first pause before responding. For that reason alone, how many people before us lost their lives? Pamela, could you come off mute and expound on your response? I'm not sure what happened, but we can circle back to it if we like, because she also added every vote counts. For every vote not cast allows someone to get an office that shouldn't, which is to your point, Kimberly, as well. And I like this one, Kenya. Don't confuse movement with progress. Love that. Absolutely love it, because that is actually one of the things that you hear when people say, why vote? Because they're saying like, well, nothing ever happens if I vote, my vote doesn't. And I know that we had initiatives, a few years ago, I think when Donald Trump was running, about like everybody should vote, because we definitely needed to make change in certain areas. So my response to be why vote would be just that. Like, even if it doesn't serve me in this moment, I want for the opportunity to have better for my children and my grandchildren. So for me, voting is essential, to Omani's point earlier, that we have to start somewhere in order to make change. And that ties directly into Kenya's comment about don't confuse movement with progress, because we need to know that there's baby steps in order to get to where the ultimate goal. And
hey, everybody,
hey.
yeah, what do they say at church? I said I wasn't gonna say nothing. But no, just since you opened it up for us to, kind of chime in and answer this question, I think just at the bare minimum, if I'm being real about it, and what I tell, say to my family, because they don't really, right, get out and vote, and maybe for the president, but like maybe, but even then it's kind of like, I ain't got time for, they're gonna do what they want anyway. But I think for me, what I always remember and what I tell them is that vote so you can say something, right? Because if I don't vote, what am I don't have room to argue, right, with somebody about why this person is in office or what this person did, because I didn't get out and make my voice heard. But if I take the opportunity to make sure that my voice is heard, then I got the right to say something about how things, turned out, and how to, figure out how I can push forward to make things different. Kimberly, thank you so much for coming and sharing. And I appreciate the authenticity of you coming in, because they know now I'm kind of I kind of get a little bit, so I love you coming in and being yourself, so that to let us all know that politicians are people too, right? City council people are folks too. We all are just who we are. But just encouraging everybody, because I am one that I don't know much, about. I don't do all of the research so much, much as I should. Learning some great facts from Omani as well, but just doing what I can do from my little spot goes, a long way, and never thinking that, oh, my voice doesn't matter, because it only takes one, right? Sometimes that first person to do something, or that first thing. So again, congratulations to you on your new role. But that is my my why I vote, just because I want to be able to say something, if in that aspect.
Thank you for that. And I just want to remind everyone, you don't have to know it all, right? If I was going to be a politician, I would think that it was supposed to happen for me at the age of 65, because I thought that's when people get wise, right? But you don't have to know everything. And if you're operating in integrity and you're trusting the process, there are people around me who are in my corner. The city manager I can call on speed dial for anything that I need. And her staff also supports me as well, to make sure that I'm making educated decisions that are going to be legacy decisions for our city here. So again, don't think you have to know it all. We don't, it's okay. You'll be fully supported, and you can learn it as you go. That's okay too. You just have to come to the table with the passion and the heart, and to be willing to be exposed, and to be out here in public, to give it a chance, to allow your voice to be heard for yourself and for others. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Nickie. This is Billy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I just want to make a couple of quick comments. If we look around the world, right? If you look around the world, different nation states, you will often see when the governors and the rulers do not have accountability to the people, it leads to chaos and anarchy. right? In one form or the other. There's oppression, chaos, and anarchy, and invariably war. The governors are not accountable to the people. They're not representing the people's views. They're doing their own thing. So to me, the voting, my vote is very important, as the panel discussed today, because that brings accountability to the governors and the rulers, and it's an underpinning of our democracy. Voting, accountability, and peaceful transfer of power with those people that are not performing is the underpinning of our democracy. If we have riots and craziness like we saw, last time during the transfer of power, that does not set a good example that the United States and its people can show the shining city on the hill to other people in the world, right? To inspire others that can also then bring accountability to their governors and rulers. So that's my thoughts on voting and accountability in the democratic system. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, and I totally agree to your sentiment. Omani, I'm sorry, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything.
Just agreeing with the gentleman, not at all.
Oh, perfect. And did anyone else want to come off and expand and answer the question as to why they vote? The response to the question. Okay, I see another comment in the chat that says, don't be afraid to educate others, talk professionally, and often to share views, historical data, and drop the mic. So I agree with this comment, right? I know that around election time, my friends and I, we definitely get together and we hold sessions on the propositions and we hear each person's side, and then we can educate ourselves on which way we're going to vote or not. So I definitely think that speaking to other people and hearing other people's views, not only in politics, but in life, allows you to progress forward and allows you to see from other people's points of view. Rachel, yes, you can come on and talk.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, another real reason that we should vote is listen. We all have our relatives that have children. We have to plan for the future. We have to encourage our children, our friends. All of what we do and vote on today is everlasting. We're talking about history that we know of. So just think of the kids and all of our, nieces and nephews, and even, just some of the children that we know around the world, and not just in the United States, but all over the place, that we need to set precedents. We need to set up, a successful country. So that's really the main reason why I like to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have a question in the chat. After we vote for a candidate, how do we then hold them accountable to the platform they ran on? Any one of you could take that question.
You want to take it, Kimberly? Because I'm a writer, so I'll write him a letter real fast.
I was going to say, Omani holds me accountable. You hold them accountable by reminding them what they said their platform was going to be. That that's why you voted for them. And when those issues and concerns come up for you, doing it in the right way by emailing, calling, having a conversation to talk about those issues and see how we can clarify and come to an agreement about what would be the next best moves.
Perfect, thank you. I did just want to share Heather's comment about what she hears. She said, I sometimes hear people say they don't vote because they don't like any of the candidates. I read something recently that was good advice. Voting is like the bus system. The bus may not take you directly to your stop, but you can get on the bus route that takes you as close to your stop as possible. Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's definitely. That. Yeah, and that I think too goes back to Kenya's comment as well about the movement and how the movement doesn't matter as long as we're getting progress, right? So I absolutely love that comment. Heather, thank you for sharing.
Hey, pound Rosa Parks.
Yeah.
I'll add something to team. When we think about it this way, to even the question and the statement, does the president make the laws? No. Does the Supreme Court make the laws? No.
No.
Who makes the laws? The Congress, House of Representatives, the Senate. So I say that to say if there was hesitation, many don't vote for the president, but they still vote for the governor. They still vote for the assemblymen, the assemblywoman. They vote for the mayors. They care about the local. They care about the state. So just remember, the judges, the judicial side, they do that adjudication. The enforcement comes from the executive branch. But if you want to change those laws and make that impactful difference, vote. Some way or another, vote.
Rachel, yes, you may come off mute and ask your question.
Oh, did I have my hand up for a question? I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
I'm putting my hand down. Thank you, Nickie. You're on it.
Thank you. But to your point, Omani, I do agree with writing letters because I definitely, email. I'm an emailer. So I will email the city council person. I will email the city manager, whatever my issue is, and whoever can solve it, I'm emailing those people because those are the people that were voted in to serve my community and improve my community, because that should be the point, improving the community. If you're not here to improve what we want in our community, then you should not hold a seat in our city.